Hello, my name is Caitlin Snook, and this is my fall 2022 internship final project. I'm a journalism major with a sociology and interdisciplinary studies minor. I'm a senior graduating in spring 2023, and a fun fact about me is that I was a competitive cheerleader for 8 years. So, this fall, my internship was with FGCU 360. I worked as a reporter slash writer for the online publication with two other students. We had our first meeting during the second week of the school year. We met twice a week on campus in Modular 3. My supervisor, Keith Gibson, was a journalist with the News Press here in Southwest Florida for around 30 years. Having a supervisor who worked in the industry for so long was extremely helpful, and this internship felt more like a job than an academic endeavor. I found this internship through Miss Mann's recommendation. I met with her last spring to talk about it, and she suggested it, so I just sent an email to Keith, and it was pretty easy. During my internship, I was responsible for finding story ideas, pitching the idea, finding sources to interview, and then writing to meet a deadline. Career goals from my internship. I currently work at Fox 4 in Cape Coral as a digital producer, and I enjoy my job with Fox 4 and I've learned a lot about the industry through it, but broadcast journalism isn't my ultimate goal. It never was. In the future, I hope to work as a reporter for a national paper, so my internship with FGCU 360 was really my first chance to get that experience. It's made me much more confident in my writing abilities and shown me what it's like to work in a fast paced newsroom environment. I feel much more confident in my career goals because of FGCU 360. Some of my learning outcomes: story pitching. This internship has greatly improved my story pitching skills, especially verbally. In my journalism classes, we're usually assigned stories. We're not responsible for finding the topics on our own. And with FGCU 360, I was completely independent in this part. I had to find stories, think of an angle, find sources, and then pitch the story to my supervisor all on my own. This prepared me for a professional newsroom environment, as this is something that's done on a daily basis, both in broadcast and in paper. Interviewing was another skill that I learned throughout this semester. FGCU 360 taught me how to be a better interviewer and how to truly connect with the people that I'm talking to. Interviewing is such an important aspect of journalism because it can make or break your story. During my 3 published articles with FGCU 360, I became more comfortable each time I spoke with a source. In the past, I was definitely more tense and formal, and now I'm comfortable being a bit more personable with my interview subjects and just feeling more relaxed. My supervisor experience: it was extremely positive. Mr. Gibson treated me and my fellow interns as equals rather than as students who were below him. Our dynamic was more like coworkers than students and teacher. Mr. Gibson was always eager to hear my story ideas and helped me work through any issues I might have had in the process. And while he was supportive of my work, he was also always willing to tell me where I could improve and gave me the resources to do so. Overall, I feel I'm a better writer and interviewer because of Mr. Gibson's advice. My contribution. In my opinion, my biggest contribution and accomplishment during this internship was the story I wrote after Hurricane Ian. My fellow interns and I were asked to find a story about the hurricane with a connection to FGCU. It was a really crazy time for everybody. We were working on a really tight deadline as the Ian edition of 360 had to be published as soon as possible. So I was able to interview 2 FGCU students who worked at a local restaurant during and after the storm. I had just over 1 week to find the story, get that interview, and then finish writing, and I was very proud of myself for being able to meet that deadline successfully. And this is a picture that I featured in my article. The 2 students here work at FK Your Diet, which is a local restaurant, and they were working all throughout the hurricane to hand out free meals to people who were impacted by it. My experience at FGCU 360 improved my professional skills as I learned to work with a group of colleagues and with a managerial figure as well. It was a different dynamic than that of my classmates and professors. In addition to my peers and supervisors, I also spoke with other employees in the marketing department and created professional relationships with them. I had to communicate with multiple people within my internship site and with the people involved in my stories in a quick, effective, and professional manner. Through my internship, I've made connections with both students, experienced journalists. My supervisor has connections in the industry all across Florida and even in other states. By working with him, I definitely furthered my personal connection. I was also able to connect with the FGCU community through the 3 stories I wrote. I spoke with FGCU employees for my first story, which centered around SOVI. I spoke with students during the Hurricane Ian story, and I spoke with an FGCU alumni for my final story. My favorite story that I wrote this semester was the Fort Myers Theater story, which was an interview with an FGCU alumni. This piece was more of a profile than a hard news story, which is something I've always wanted to try but never had the opportunity to. And this was my first story that I wrote. So I went to the event. I wrote a story about the preparation for this Take Care Carnival at SOVI, and here are some pictures from that event. Overall, my internship helped me feel more prepared for life after graduation and made me much more confident in my journalistic skills. I have a better understanding of the type of job I might look for once I graduate. I also feel I'm better qualified for those jobs, not only because I have more experience, but because I actually worked with a former newspaper editor who enjoyed my work. I also now have more material to add to my resume other than just school assignments. My work with FGCU 360 better reflects my writing skills than my class assignments. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit about journalism and my internship overall, and I hope everyone else had a great experience this semester.